They called him the Egyptian. When he showed up in town, he was the Egyptian.
Usually when it mentions the
was in Egypt.
Maybe they called him Moroccan.
To Egypt, then stay.
Because he studied with Moroccan God.
No, but I'm talking about the last one. Then stays.
No, so here it brings them both together. Now I thought that the main chiddush was the Kohen Gadol, and just mention the king because it says the Kohen Gadol. But now, according to what it says, that the king also gets anointed. So really, both of them have the same chiddush, that they're both anointed.
Right, so I was just telling you.
Yeah, that could be. I just had a question from the way it was put in quoted here. Okay, now we have a new piece. We're going to go back. This is sort of a summary of what we did before, what we did yesterday, and it gives it a little bit of clarity. The Torah compares this. I translate Rahman as the Torah. That's a yeshiva thing that they do. Rahman means the merciful one, the Eibishter. But in yeshiva they talk about the Torah more than the Eibishter. So I don't know if that's a positive thing. Anyway, so it says like this. What's the comparison to these three things? L'saita, the afagav the like pagam. It's compared to the saita, even though there's no diminishment of value. Now, so what would that mean? 1 second. One of the commentators here threw in an example for each one, even though the Gemara is going to go through it. Okay, Gabi Hektish Nami. So here's the comparison. But so let's take it back to Hektish, to Meilah. Nasna tabas biyada. If he puts a ring on her hand, or on his hand or her hand, I'm not sure what's the feminine here. Meilah, that's Meilah. Why? He has benefit, even though there's no diminishment of the value. He starts wearing something that. I hear what you're saying.
No, not he. The Sota has Meilah because she's married. Before the ring, she's only engaged. She has no Meilah.
But there's no pagam in the ring itself. The ring still holds its value.
The Sota was married beforehand, so she's not a virgin. And now she's having a relationship with someone else. She's having some enjoyment from some other person. So, but she's not diminishing her own value. Now let's take that over to Hektish, because we had a comparison here. It says Meilah by Yasaita, Mala, what was it called? Kisimal Mal. And then it says by Hektish Meilah. So what's the comparison? The comparison is that by Hektish, someone has enjoyment from something that's Hektish, even though there's no diminishment of the values. For example, he wears a ring of Hektish. Someone consecrated a ring, and he puts it on his finger. Ki akshay.
Wasn't there an argument between the Rabbi
yes.
and the Chachamim over what happened?
Yeah. Now, that's an important point.
What did Chachamim hold?
The Chachamim held that if it's something that's supposed to have a loss, that normally has a loss from its usage, so then there's only Meilah if there's a diminishment of its value. But something that doesn't normally have a loss, for example a ring, so that would be Meilah as well. So the Chacham would agree with this so far. We said Shasa b'kais shalzav. No, Rabbi Kiva was even more strict. Rabbi Kiva said there's Meilah even on things that there could be a diminishment of value and there isn't, there's still Meilah. But then we said that Rabbi Kiva agrees, and we said it was talking about there's only diminishment over long periods of time. So, Ki akshay Rachman al Avodas Kechavim, and what is now the comparison to Avodah Zarah? So by Saita we got it. He wears a ring. The Ad Ispe Shinoi.
Wait, he wears a ring or she wears a ring?
Either. He or she wears a ring.
Very liberal society.
It's nothing.
That's Meilah.
Peace with genders.
So in other words, there's no diminishment of value, but there's enjoyment. And by Avodas Kechavim, there has to be some sort of change, even without enjoyment. So Gabi Hektish Nami Adibika Bekardim. Until he uses the axe or the hatchet to chop wood, the Yifkaim, and upagum, and it becomes diminished, deteriorated. Okay. Now, that's not so simple that that's supposed to be there. Okay, let's see shortly. Let's do the third hekesh was from the chait, the gzer shava. Akshir rachmana l'truma, and the comparison was to truma. Ma truma ki yoichal. By truma it says that he eats. Prat lamazik, that excludes just plain damaging. Gabi hekdesh nami, kol debar achila ki mazik lepater. By hekdesh also, anything that could be eaten and he doesn't eat it, he's exempt if he just damages it. That's not considered Meilah. Now, okay, so mazik, this is a new thing that we didn't really have clear. A mazik of hektish does not violate Meilah. Just to go over and tear it, or to ruin it, is not considered Meilah. Meilah is usually, we're discussing b'shaygeg, because otherwise there's misi b'dei shemayim, where the relevance to us of Meilah is he has to bring a carbon, and he has to pay. All of that is b'shaygeg.
He took all these things out, and he didn't know he was doing wrong.
Yeah.
Or shogeg, he didn't know it was Meilah.
He didn't realize that this was the money from Hekdesh. He took it. He thought it was his own. Right.
All these different things.
Right. Right. He didn't realize what he was his property on.
He walks into the basement of Mikdash. He walks into the storage room.
You're making it more extreme. It doesn't need to be so extreme. He consecrated the money in his house. It doesn't have to be
So in fact,
that he's going into a storage house in the Beis Hamikdash. Or there's other options here. That there's a guy that's a collector or a manager of Hektish, the Gizbar, that has access to different things, and he ends up using and giving and then this and that. That's we'll see shortly.
This has been the confusion that I've been having. Now that I think about it, I should have had the same confusion when we learned Croesus, because that's also for unintentional
Right.
errors that otherwise would
have been
Karas, and this is for unintentional errors that otherwise would be
Misi
B'dei
b'dei
Shemayim.
shemayim.
That's, I assume, the connection between this and the previous Masechta.
Uh-huh.
In both cases, this and the previous Masechta, it's the unintentional act.
Right.
What's confusing me here is all this discussion. I mean, usually I think of mitzvahs and averos as going down two tracks. Bein Adam la'Adam or Bein Adam l'chaver. Or here we have something done by Adam, and it puts someone else in a problem, Bein Adam l'makom.
Right.
And it's confusing me.
Uh-huh.
That's been my...
The comparison to Saita and to Avodah Zarah is a very interesting comparison, according to that.
Yes.
I don't know what you said, but you said well.
Okay.
I also don't know what you said, but the cookie was good.
With scratching his head.
Okay. Kate said, Nasla Ketela, we're going to go back to the Mishnah and we're going to discuss the case, the example in the Mishnah of having enjoyment from something without any loss, without any deterioration. Amalei Rav Kana le Rav Zvid. Rav Kana says to Rav Zvid.
So any achila,
You tell me.
Kahana, right?
Kahana? Not Kana. Oh, it has to start with the shva. What's it called? The one, the shva that you pronounce? Shvana is the one you pronounce?
Because it's going forward.
Going forward, shvana. So kahana, or is it kahana? It's anyways a pata. Kahana.
so any achila then would not have me'ilah because you're mazik.
No, the opposite. It cannot be something that you're only mazik. Shuma, you have to eat it. If it's a food, then it has to be eaten in order to violate me'ilah. You can't just destroy it. That we learned from Truma. If you just mazik it without eating, then that's not me'ilah. What about things that aren't food? That's the question. We sort of like brushed over that. let's say clothing that he tears. How am I going to learn from? How do I learn from truma that he can't damage? I think that it's going to be different.
Didn't we already learn about this with the deshin?
With
The deshin, the ashes? Didn't we already learn
we
this
learned
principle?
that there is me'ilah over there
So it benefits
until certain. No, but
for deterioration.
we learned in the Mishnah. At least the commentators here said that if he just tears clothing, what happens if he just tears clothing from Hektish without
You say it later on in the Gemara.
without any
Without any
benefit?
They bring it down later on. No. They talk about they're cutting a patch.
Right, that
We
little
had
square,
the cutting
remember?
of the patch. That was a different discussion.
Well,
But that patch you would benefit. He was trying to put it
shouldn't we
over a
assume
seed or
that
something.
anything someone does, he has
Oh yeah, and
benefit
that's what
from?
they
Otherwise,
explained
why
what
would he
was.
do
It was
it?
like
Yeah,
something
but
sad.
there's different ways of measuring benefit. What we're going to consider benefit, as in
Tapras?
a normal sort of benefit from food. The benefit would be eating it. Oil would be either eating or putting on.
What is
I don't know.
Okay, I believe that the limit over here is only food, and I saw that somewhere. So, okay, let's go further. It says, Rav Kana says to Rav Zvid, "B'dava lav barif gumihu." What are you saying? That if you take a drink from a golden cup, or if you put on this, put on this golden choker, this necklace. So once you have enjoyment from it, so there's me'ilah. Why? Because this normally doesn't deteriorate. You don't have to wait for deterioration. So if Kana says to Rav Zvid, what are you talking about? Gold doesn't deteriorate. But David Kalse de Nun, Lahecha Azal. Apparently there was this fellow by the name of Nun. Since Yeshua ben Nun, I didn't realize that they were using that name. But there was a fellow Nun. And his daughter-in-law had a lot of jewelry, gold and whatever. He probably gave it. Nun probably
He
gave
was
it.
very rich.
He was. And then he gave it to her. Then
And then he had none.
I'm sorry, that's it. That's the ultimate.
That's those two cookies.
so they weighed the gold at the beginning when they gave it to her, and they weighed it after several years, and it was missing. So dava means the gold. The kalse de nun lahechazal, where did it go? It means that gold deteriorates. It rubs away.
Is
Check
this
the lab.
important
Check
to
the lab for
halacha?
that gold.
Is this important to halacha?
Well, the significance is that if gold deteriorates,
Oh, then it's counted as one of the things that if you use, it'll.
that only if
that
it is, only if it deteriorates will there be me'ilah.
2 karat gold.
So Amarle, he says, Dilma dava de ramyan kalasechu. Maybe it's the gold. Now I'm not sure if what this means. I didn't say it in English. Does this mean that he's telling him it's the gold that your daughter-in-law throws?
Yeah.
The kalasech is your daughter. So normal usage of the gold will not deteriorate. But if it's mistreated, if it's thrown,
The way you do it.
Rami is to throw. So it's the way they throw it around, so then it's going to deteriorate.
Probably getting scratched.
So,
and things like that.
V'oid nihida la'yika nana upagam la'alter la'ilami la'yika pegima. Also, even though there's no pagam immediately, but over time there is a loss, and we're only considering. Now, this is a strange piece over here because we're only considering the immediate pagam. Now, who said that we only consider the immediate pagam? That was Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah,
Short
someone
term?
else.
You're talking about short term, long term?
The other one says it's
Long
even
term.
after 3 years.
Rabbi Akiva held, this was the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, that if there's deterioration over long periods of time, we don't view that as deterioration. We consider it that just any benefit. Now, it sounds like that second answer is only in Rabbi Akiva. Did they comment on that it's only Rabbi Akiva's opinion? In the comments here, they don't say that. Did they mention this, the name? It's interesting.
What's the
Okay.
question? I'm sorry.
Yesterday we had a machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. If there's if there's deterioration over long periods of time, but not short term, not with short usage. Rabbi Akiva held that that's not considered deterioration, and therefore there's me'ilah immediately, even without any deterioration. So we don't view that long-term deterioration. Now the Gemara over here says that the gold only has deterioration over long periods of time, so therefore we're not considering it deteriorate, which is exactly Rabbi Akiva's opinion. The Chachamim argued. The Chachamim said no, it has to deteriorate, it has to be used for longer periods of time. Just asking that the Gemara doesn't even mention Uka Rabbi Akiva. It's ignoring that. Yeah. Yeah, the Mefarish I got, but it doesn't mention anything. Okay. Hanena Menachatas. This was we learned this in the Mishnah and we had it quoted before and it was a little unclear. If someone has enjoyment, from a chatas, it made a difference. The chatas was alive or dead. We said if it's alive, then there needs to be deterioration. And if it's dead, then no, even without deterioration, it's still considered me'ilah. We explained that because when it's dead, you can't be paid it. So we said that there's no deterioration there. Deterioration doesn't matter. You can't be paid it anyway. So because you can't be paid something, you can't redeem it just to feed it to dogs. That's what we said. The question is michti.
Because the soul has a certain essence.
Yeah, because it still is hektish. It still is hektish.
Was that the thing about something hektish can never not be hektish? That was a building one. Was that the time we learned about the building that he was like, "There's no way buy the guitars off you"?
Oh, it could be we mentioned that. Yeah, we said about exchanging the guitars.
Because it can never stop him. That's why they did it that way.
So here we say michti.
Oh, it's getting close.
Let's see. Ibe behemoth tmima haino keshel zav. What's going on over here? What's the difference between an animal and a keshel zav? Look, let's say he rides the animal. Now, if he rides the animal, even if it loses weight, the animal, but it's still a carbon. And for a carbon, he would be selling it in the store, so that would be deterioration. But he's not selling it. It's a carbon, and the carbon it's the same if it has a little extra weight or less weight. It's the same. So why are we saying if the animal's alive, there needs to be deterioration in order for it to be? He's not selling it. It's alive. It's a regular carbon. What's the difference of kashel zav if he drinks from a cup? That's me'ilah. If he rides the animal, it's also me'ilah. It's hana. Amar of Papa Bailas Mamaskina.
What are we losing? What is the animal losing?
Right. What's the animal losing? And no. So if the animal's not losing anything, so then it should be me'ilah. Then the opposite. Then it should be me'ilah immediately. This is the confusing thing. 1 second. The anything that normally deteriorates, there's only me'ilah if it deteriorates. Anything that doesn't deteriorate, there's me'ilah once there's enjoyment. So over here, because there's no deterioration, there should be me'ilah immediately at the enjoyment. Why do you need for deterioration? It's just a regular carbon. So it's just like drinking from a cup, which is me'ilah.
So you're saying something that doesn't deteriorate, it's only me'ilah if you get enjoyment from it?
Then the me'ilah comes just from the enjoyment itself without deterioration. So here there should be me'ilah without deterioration.
Can't give three.
He's got it right. He's got it right.
Can't give three, baby. Easy. This is unauthorized. Not official.
The kid, the Boy Scout.
There's 6 Rav Kanas. Very good.
Picture.
Rav Vid
Yeah, it's on the side.
is here.
We have
We have
one
Rav
cooking
Kana
rule
2
now
is
for
over there,
Dr. Stein.
and we have Rav Kana 1 up there
He's probably arguing with
with Rav Kana 2.
Where are you on the chart?
He was mentioning Reb Zvid, whose daughter-in-law apparently also didn't treat her gold properly. She would throw it around.
Where are you now in?
We're just going back to the mentioning Reb Zvid. He's next to Reb Nachman Bar
Oh, I
Yitzchak.
see him, yeah.
And you notice Rav Kana 2 under Rav Papa, Rav Kana Beis. Okay. Rav Papa answers, B'Bailas Momaskinan. Very simple answer. We're not dealing with the karban that's going as a sacrifice. We're dealing with the karban that's a balmum, which means that you need to redeem it. Once you need to redeem it, then it deteriorates. Because if it's not as heavy, then it doesn't get bought for the same price. So that's considered deterioration. You have to wait for it to deteriorate. You follow now? That's the... Okay. And so now it makes clear when it's dead, because there's no... it doesn't need to deteriorate. If you have hana from it, there's already Meilah because you can't redeem it. Once there's no redemption, so then there's the difference in value. It doesn't matter. There's no redemption anyway.
When he said Balmum, someone said, I should have thought of that.
Right.
It was like one of those
Right. Okay. Have a safe trip.
We gone?
How are we doing?
Yeah.
So with an animal,
Oh, yeah?
No,
It's raining today.
deterioration starts from the moment that it dies.
Oh, it's not
Right.
raining
And as
there?
more and more time goes by,
Right.
it gets more and more deteriorated.
it's going to be
Right.
beautiful.
Stay away
It's
from
not ever
reptiles.
used,
Swamp
it
in this?
deteriorates because it's not being used.
Stay away from
It
reptiles.
gets weaker
Well,
because it's not
pizza.
being used.
Right.
So if it's in a pen and it can't move and it can't exercise,
So that would
it's
actually-
weakening itself, it's getting weaker
Right.
itself because it's not being used.
Right. Now, if it's this way or that way, whatever it is, whether deteriorating naturally or that's not really our concern. Our concern
Yeah, that's
is the usage that the personal usage that the guy is getting, is that deteriorating the animal? So that would depend on if it could be redeemed or not. If it could be redeemed, then he needs to cause deterioration to violate Meilah.
So I'm saying if it's alive, why would it be considered deteriorating? It's like the example of a scroll. So if you don't touch it, it'll start to
Right.
deteriorate. But the more you touch it, then you move it along.
Right. Well, I guess because the assumption is that it's locked up in a pen, but that's not necessarily the case. It could be it's in this huge field, and the more it grazes naturally, the more plump it's going to be. This guy comes over and puts a thing on it and starts to use it, or to plow with it. It loses all the nice meat. It turns into muscle. It's a waste of. I don't know. It's just
There's precedent in Skiros Poalim for exactly what Reb David is saying, where there are issues about laborers who become unemployed, those who would prefer to be working and carrying, because that's their job, and they become weaker.
Right.
So there's a
Right.
lack
I
of precedent
remember that.
for exactly that
Seifer,
kind of
yeah.
view.
With David, there's a seat open.
Huh?
The professor left. There's a seat open.
Sure.
Yeah.
With the assistant of the rabbi, with all the explanations.
We need the stencils.
Nana, we have a new Mishnah. Nana ke b'chatzi pruta, pagam b'chatzi pruta. The example that they give over here is that he puts on clothing from Hektish, and he wears it the amount of time that would be chatzi pruta's value of usage. Half a penny. And pagam ke chatzi pruta. However, he also tears it a half a pruta. So there's a joint together, hana and
But it's from the same
pagam.
thing.
Right here. So far it's the same thing. We'll see soon. It's not going to be cases where it's not. Oishenene b'shava pruta b'davar acher, upagam b'shava pruta b'davar acher. He has enjoyment from something that he really should only violate Meilah if there was deterioration in it. But he has this enjoyment that he got from it didn't deteriorate. And But however, he did have deterioration from something else. That's Meilah. That's Hektish. So he split up the. He's not doing the Meilah fully. The full Meilah on either one. Both of these cases, it needs to have the enjoyment and the pagam of a shava pruta in the same article, in the same item. Ein mayal acher mayal b'makdashin. For Meilah acher Meilah, you see here where the Mishnah doesn't tell me the main point. It says it as a rule, which throws us off a little bit. If one person does Meilah, and then another person does Meilah afterwards, the second person can't have Meilah, because the first person already made it mundane. Except, Ela b'mehema klisharis bilvad, unless it's a karban, or it's a klisharis. Ketzad, you have a case. Rachav al gabi behema, if he rides on an animal. B'chaver v'rachav. Everyone is riding on the animal. So kulam malo, all of them have Meilah. We're saying that if this would have been a shirt, he would wear a shirt of Hektish, and then his friend wears the shirt, and then his friend, it's not going to be Meilah. This is only by the animal that it's Meilah.
Wait, what happens if somebody makes a tier of half a pruta, and then the other guy goes and also makes a tier of half a pruta? Would that be a full pruta, and then would it be high for it? Like the one with, one we learned earlier with Shabbos, that just one letter, and later because of another letter.
What did we remind me? On Shabbos we said if the second person writes, is that considered a violation? On the second person?
In some cases.
So over here, I don't think it would be Meilah. We said, Yitzi explained to me yesterday that when we said about the friend eating, that was when he was feeding. He ate and he was feeding to his friend. Well, let's wait a little bit. We'll see a case similar to that.
We'll petition Brunois for Yossi to go.
So let's do the next case. Next case goes like this: Shasa b'keishel zav b'chaver v'shasa. He drinks from a golden cup. His friend comes and drinks from a golden cup. His friend comes and drinks from a golden cup. Kulan malo, it's all Meilah. Why? Because it's a klisharis. Talash min achatas. It means, I guess he takes the hair off from achatas. B'chaver v'talash. B'chaver v'talash kulan malo. They're all violating Meilah. Back to the animal. Rebbe says, we're going to see it's not necessarily a machlekes here. We have to figure out how this is a machlekes. Kol davar she'in loy pidyon, yesh by mayal acher mayal. Anything, it's actually, most have the girs of the gam. Anything that doesn't have deterioration, there will be Meilah acher Meilah. And pidyon could mean the same thing as the pagam in this case, but we're trying to redemption, yeah. But however, if you notice in the Mefarish, that's Rashi, Rebbe Yemer kol davar she'ein lo pagam. Or if you look in the back,
because if it has a pagam, you can then be told
you take the word pidyon.
That would make absolute
it's the same concept. What we're dealing here, it's a very simple concept, but the Mishnah is saying it without saying that main point. The main point is, does it leave hektish when you use it? If it leaves hektish when you use it, then there's no Meilah afterwards. If it remains hektish, like a karban, just because you used it it's still a karban. You weren't allowed to use it, but it's still a karban. Or a klesharis. If your intention was not to steal it, you just used it. If you stole it, and maybe it's never going to go out, but anything that would be considered a gzela or something, and now you have to pay the money back to hektish, not the original item. So then it's not hektish anymore. So then the one that comes afterwards to get Meilah doesn't violate Meilah because it's already out of hektish. It says Mani Masnisen. Who's the author of our Mishnah? It says Reb Nechemia. It's Reb Nechemia. That was his video. He was discussing Reb Nechemia. You see Dr. Abrams'
historical.
in the video. In the video, he was discussing the Tosefta. See in the back of these big Gemaras, you see the two columns? There's the Tosefta. So it said that Rabbi Nechemia, Stam Tosefta is Rabbi Nechemia. So he was mentioning that it could be that doesn't mean that Rabbi Nechemia made the Tosefta. It means that Rabbi Shia that made the Tosefta, they used the anonymous statements of Rabbi Nechemia to be. They used Rabbi Nechemia's statements to be the anonymous part of the ghostwriting. Right, similar to what Rebbe did in the Mishnah with Reb Meir. Yeah. Turns out that our Tosefta is probably not the original Tosefta. Our Tosefta is the Tosefta plus all brises that we've collected from this. It's put together from. That's the assumption. Okay. Reb Nechemia says, "Detanya ein mayal acher mayal ela behema." We're starting a brisa. The brisa is going to have two opinions. The first opinion is Tanakama. Ein mayal acher mayal ela behema bilvad. There's only meila after meila by an animal, and Reb Nechemia amar behema v'klisharis. Both an animal and a klisharis. That you could have repeatedly meila. My time at the Tanakama. What's the reason for the Tanakama that says only by an animal? Kasavar bin Yona de behema ksiv. The meila